Well, welcome back, everybody. I always like to begin by talking about what did you do this summer? And I've spoken to some of the faculty, and some of you have been to Morocco, to all over the place. Bahamas, and Spain seems to be a favorite destination. And some of you have stayed close to California. And my summer consisted mostly of exploring Northern California on a quick camping trip to Mendocino, Eureka, Ashland, and Shasta. And Ricardo Navarrete said, "You go camping, Frank? I thought you were a city guy." But it reminded me of the timelessness of the headlands of Mendocino, the magic of the Lost Coast, and the majesty of the redwood forest with all its ferns. I would find myself visiting community colleges along my route. Much the way my dad would take us to Chinese restaurants when we were on vacation. I remember enjoying great meals in Seattle, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, Chinatowns, and he invariably would rate their cuisine against his own restaurant in Wantagh, Long Island. So here I am stopping by the College of the Redwoods, College of the Siskiyous, Mendocino College, and comparing them to our JC, like father, like son. By the way, no comparison. I also enjoyed my first summer exploring our very own Sonoma County. Best chowder in Bodega Harbor at the Spud Point Marina. A Michelin-rated find also in Bodega called Terrapin Creek. Ventured to Cloverdale for a great burger at Pick's Drive-In. Almost as good as the burger in Rockefeller Oyster in Valley Ford. As you can see, I ate my way through the county. I did take in 2 great productions at SRT, Xanadu and Sweet Charity, and was blown away by the energy and the talent. I attended my first Sonoma County Fair and watched Terry Lindley's daughter, Lily, ride a mutton. Quite an experience. She's a real trooper. And one of the great times was being at the Rootstock Festival with our new dean, Gannison Sridhamsan, at the Wineyard, featuring Schoen Farm wines and our double gold medal olive oil. I took in 2 great concerts at the Wells Fargo, Earth, Wind & Fire and Seal. 41 years, Earth, Wind & Fire, and they still rock. What a great venue and a great show. I ran into Karen Furukawa and her husband Larry at EWF, and they sat in the front center right here. And I was sat in the last row in the balcony. What's up with that? And I'll say to the students, I refuse to be with the 1%ers. I sat, but that's the best seat in the house for those who know. Rest assured that I'm thoroughly enjoying Sonoma County, and please keep the referrals coming. Believe me, I'm eating as fast as I can. I also went back to Washington, D.C. to pick up my 15-year-old daughter, Mia, from a 6-week intensive training at the Kirov Academy of Ballet. Besides being a proud dad at her recital, I snuck in visits with several friends and colleagues at the Department of Education. I truly miss the people, but hardly miss donning a suit and tie in the sticky DC heat. I really look forward to hearing about your summer adventures. Some have ventured again to Turkey, Mexico, Hawaii, and Spain seems to be the hot spot this summer. So as we approach beginning the new semester, I cannot help but be excited by the fall semester, my first full fall semester at the JC. My remarks today will share with you what I've seen so far, share with you where we need to go as an institution and what we've done so far, and where I believe we need to go to maintain our tradition of excellence. The last 8 months has been a whirlwind for me. I liken it to drinking water out of a fire hose. I could not ask for a warmer welcome. Everyone I've come across at campus and in the community have extended their support to ensure that I'm successful. I need to first recognize Dr. Grella, an extraordinary leader who handed the baton over to me. I would like to quote from Jim Miller's book, Good to Great. Level 5 leaders, and this is the highest level, channel their egos' needs away from themselves and into the larger goal of building a great organization. Indeed, they are incredibly ambitious, but their ambition is first and foremost for the institution, not to themselves. Dr. Grella is a level 5 leader, and SRJC was fortunate to have him as a president. Let's give him a round of applause. I spoke to him a couple days ago, and he said, oh yeah, PDA is coming up, huh, Frank? And he wished me well, and he said he'd be viewing it afterwards online. And I told him I hope he wouldn't give me a Yelp review, because I heard he's a tough grader. I also want to thank my Board of Trustees for their faith and confidence in me and being accessible and providing me with entree into the tight-knit Sonoma County family. The board has been getting to know me and my style, and I'm getting acquainted with them as well. We have been engaging in adult conversations about the college. For anyone who perceives them as not being involved or engaged, I can assure you they are very much engaged, committed, accessible, and supportive of me and the JC. Thank you, board. And by the way, the filing deadline just ended, and the 3 trustees who are on the ballot are running unopposed. And I think that speaks to the level of confidence the community has in them. But it also saves the junior college, according to Doug Roberts, $200,000 of our funds that we would have to put into the election. So that's money that's going back to the education of our students. The faculty, management team, classified leaders, and student leaders have all welcomed me with tremendous support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, what have I seen so far? What I see is a college with a tradition of excellence, a tradition that's steeped in 94 years of service to Sonoma County, a college that has transformed generations of Sonoma County and North Bay residents, a college that can rightfully claim to being one of the most gorgeous and pristine campuses in the country, a campus that Willie Brown says he mistook for Stanford upon arriving here to speak. And not just this campus, but the Petaluma campus, Schoen Farm, Public Safety Center, the Southwest Center. What I find is a college dedicated and elite faculty when it comes to transforming the lives of its students. And I'd like to quote, mediocre faculty tell, good faculty explain, excellent faculty demonstrate, great faculty inspire. In my time here, I cannot tell you how many residents shared with me that, just amongst a sample, Professor Jack Wegman changed my life. Eric Thompson changed my life. Susan Wilson changed my life. Michael Salinger changed my life. Marty Lee changed my life. Luz Navarrete changed my life. Brenda Fleiselhawk changed my life. Ben Nguyen changed my life. Just a sample. And they would say, I would not be a doctor, dentist, nurse, lawyer, restaurateur, winery owner, police captain, had it not been possible for these faculty members to have an impact on me. Our faculty inspire. They are, you are great. Give yourselves a hand. And what do I see? I see a college that is rich in student life, a college that has an active student club and AS government, sometimes too active. Great athletic teams. I've had a chance to play golf with the golf coach and the baseball coach, and they're really good sports, but they still won't let me beat them. We have a great student newspaper, the Oak Leaf, award-winning. We have a great theater department that has a whole great array and menu of productions this year, and I plan to attend as many as I can. We have an award-winning speech and debate team and speech coaches that give me coaching on the side for free, so I really appreciate them. And a wonderful music department. Great student life. What do I see? I see a loyal, hardworking, classified staff. They're often the least appreciated and most overlooked part of our college family. I marvel at how they go quietly about doing their business, keeping our grounds pristine, staffing our labs and library and student services, making sure that our students get the materials they need in their libraries. They also ensure that we get hired, our benefits get processed, and we get our paychecks on time. No small task. And that is why I'm so pleased that Debbie Weatherly came to me shortly after I arrived and recommended we want in. The proposal was to include all classified staff in PDA Day. I consulted with my VPs, and they were all supportive. The downside is some students are going to be turned away this morning. But the upside is that we want to benefit from their ideas, their participation, and their brain power. We need to change up. Thank you to all the classified staff for supporting our faculty, administrators, and students. Let's give them a hand. What do I see? A college that is steeped in traditions such as the upcoming Harvey Hansen Memorial Barbecue on Friday, September 7th at Schoen Farm. Please come. I've never participated. I'm looking forward to it. I think the theme is Out of Africa this year, and I'm really looking forward to it, so please join me. The Circle of Honor Scholarship Ceremony that we just held at Day Under the Oaks. It was a wonderful opportunity to see community leaders encircling students and showing the web of support to ensure that the students will have the same opportunities that these generous benefactors had with the JC. Our Classified Recognition Day, week, Day Under the Oaks, which I'll talk about a little later. Our State of the College and President's Medallion. What do I see? The Doyle Scholarship. Since 1950, SRJC's received from the Doyle and distributed to over 114,000 students, $76 million in Doyle scholarships. And next week, the Exchange Bank will be meeting, and I think you're going to be hearing some good news. If I told you any more, I'd have to kill you. And our shared governance system, as complex it is, it really encourages and it relies on faculty, classified, and student participation to make sound decisions that I could recommend to the board for policy. And I'll talk about that more later. So what's the problem? We have a great campus, great faculty, great staff. The world is changing. You all know that. With the economic downturn in 2008, according to Doug Roberts, over the past 3 years, state funding for community colleges has permanently been cut 12%. To counter these losses, the district implemented re-engineering and worked successfully with AFA, SEIU, and the management team on concessions to mitigate the impact. Unfortunately, the magnitude and nature of the state cuts did force the district to reduce course offerings. This year, the district, along with the rest of the community college system, is facing a dilemma. Should the governor's tax initiative, Proposition 30, not pass in November, community colleges would permanently be cut another 7.5% to 8%. So if you do the math, that's 20% in the last 4 years. And who knows what holds in the future. So we've taken steps, but we structurally have expenditures that exceed revenues. And you don't have to be an accountant to know that's not a good thing. So in order for the district to remain viable over the long term, Santa Rosa Junior College needs to either reduce expenditures even further or more preferably increase revenues. Of the latter, the district's already taken very concrete steps towards greater revenue diversity. To name just a few avenues we're looking at, we've already taken steps to look at increasing the number of international students to come here. Not just for the money, but because we need to prepare our students to be in a global world. And not all of our students have the ability to travel abroad. So let's bring those students from abroad and integrate them with our student body. And I think great things and magical things will happen. Thank you. As you know, we've also explored the possibility of a parcel tax, the viability which is tied to the November elections. And I think we're going to have more conversations about revenues, and the parcel tax was reported in the Press Democrat as this and that. But again, it was, again, an adult conversation that I had with my board and with the college community. And it's not something that we do lightly in any community, but it's something that, as a college community, we need to have serious conversations about. Thank you. I'm lukewarm to taxes too, so I don't mind with that applause. We're actually pursuing grant funding, such as Gateway to College, that's funded by the Gates Foundation. I'm pleased to announce we're one of the finalists, and funded, it would allow students who have dropped out of schools in Petaluma to come back and have a second bite of the apple, as I like to say. And I really want to thank Jane Saldana-Talley and Casey Graney for their leadership in this grant. We received a migrant education grant, the high school equivalency program that's going to allow migrant workers to come back and get their GEDs. And that has been successfully funded by the Department of Education for over $2 million for the next 5 years. And I want to thank Catherine Wilson and Marty Lee and their team for putting that together. We're also establishing ourselves as a Hispanic serving institution. That means a 25% threshold of our students are Latino, and that will make us eligible for a plethora of different types of federal funds that will help support not only Latino students, but all students at this college. I want to thank Ricardo Navarrete for leading that effort and his team. We're working with the Hanover Group, which is a consulting firm in Washington, to help identify and secure additional funding. Many of the faculty will be engaging with them this year to identify how they can be helpful in providing support for you in your disciplines if you are choosing to become more entrepreneurial and look for grants so that you can better serve your students. So similarly to what we did 2 years ago, and it needs to be stated, many of the recommendations that you came up with in terms of reducing costs and adding revenue, we're going to relook at again in the Budget Advisory Committee. Many of the areas that we've worked on in terms of diversification of funds came out of an exercise that preceded me. So what I'm saying to you is these are not Frank Chong ideas. These are your ideas that I'm reflecting back to you, and my job is to help implement them. You know, so working together, the district through the last few difficult years, and by working, we're going to continually be fiscally sound. We're going to continue to provide educational services to our students. So let's talk a little bit more about what we've done so far. I like to call it expanding the pie. Our foundation is really pivoting and really being responsive. We received a $5 million anonymous donation this year, the single largest donation of a living individual in the history of California community colleges. This will allow us to create the Santa Rosa Junior College Teaching Fellows Program. This program will be established to provide, I think, what I call a win-win. It'll provide students who have an interest in going into the field of education to dip their toes in the water and be TAs for you in your classrooms, for you to mentor them. And I know many of you had students in the past who you said, that person can be a great teacher. But I think we need to be more intentional. In the next 10 years, we're going to need 1 million new teachers in the United States. And I'm sure if you looked at the demographics, we have to start growing our own. And I think the Santa Rosa Junior Teachers Program will allow us to take a real first step in encouraging and inspiring many of our students to go into this very profession that has made Santa Rosa Junior College what it is today. We've also created a completion incentive award for those students who have a difficulty getting to the finish line and getting their degree or their certificate. We've created a fund that will allow students to look at how do we, if they have a medical bill or their car breaks down or they run out of financial aid because of the new Pell requirements. Chris Scheer is working with her staff to make sure that our students get across the finish line. The foundation has agreed also at its last retreat to do 2 things that I think are significant. One is to establish a faculty innovations fund, which will fund faculty innovation ideas about things that you might have thought, well, I wish if I had a few dollars, a couple thousand here, I could increase the retention and the success of our students. Well, now you will get to have that chance thanks to the foundation. Secondly, we're going to restore Day Under the Oaks. And it's something that when I first was interviewing for the job, Lori Beard, who, I think many of you know her, came up to me afterwards and said, "Dr. Chong, you need to restore Day Under the Oaks," you know? And, you know Lori, you got to listen. But then other people came up to me and said, "You know, we really need to have Day Under the Oaks." It was kind of the open house. It was established by the late Larry Bertolini. And when Mr. Bertolini passed, his family wanted to do something for the college, and we got together and talked about what can we do. And we thought restoring Day Under the Oaks would be something that Larry would have liked. And his family was generous to provide support, and the foundation too as well. So I really encourage you to work with Robert Ethington this year to help us bring back Day Under the Oaks bigger and better than ever before, because it's our connective tissue to the community. It's the one day that we have this large open house for our community. I've never been to one, so I really look forward to it. I think I want to thank the foundation. I want to thank Don Shigazola, who's in the audience today, the president of the foundation, and the foundation for their leadership. Thank you so much. So I'm going to step away from the prepared speech and do a little Steve Jobs number, hopefully with a better outcome, and talk a little bit about the vision, you know. And people have been asking me, well, what's the vision? What's the vision? You know, and what's the strategic plan vision? And I could tell you, as I met with my vice presidents, I could say that the vision is that we want to be the best community college in the country. We want to prepare our students for a global economy to be competitive in the workforce. We want to prepare our students to really help revitalize the economy of Sonoma County, of the state, and of the country. That we want to really be able to be prepared to work with the growing diversity in our community and really lead, not follow. That we really want to have a college that's going to be using technology as our students are enabling it, so that our faculty can use it as a tool not to replace, but to enhance your ability to have student success and retention. I said, but those are Frank Chong's ideas, you know, and I think what this college needs is really a bottom-up and a top-down approach to strategic planning. And I've had the pleasure of working with Schoen Farm President Max Schwing, who's a former Deloitte consultant. And for those of you who don't know Deloitte, they're one of the largest consulting firms in the country and the world. And they typically will provide consulting services to Fortune 500 companies, higher education institutions, and they charge a lot of money. So I approached Mac and I said, Mac, would you let me pick your brain about strategic planning, because I want to make sure we do it right at the college. And he suggested that we get together with a woman named Sandy Shirai, who Mac mentored at Deloitte. And I looked her up on the Google, and she's just not a consultant. She headed up the whole U.S. operation for consulting for Deloitte. And we had dinner about a month ago down in San Francisco, and she said, what can I do to help you, Frank? And I said, well, I have a college here. We want to do strategic planning right, and this is what I'm thinking. I don't really want to hire a consultant, have them come in here and do interviews and put together a pretty package, and that document sits on a shelf. And she said, you're doing it right. And she goes, what can I do to help? And I said, it would be helpful if you would be willing to share some of your experience with us, but I don't have the dollars to pay for it. And her response was, well, Mac helped me get to where I am. If you're a friend of Mac's, you're a friend of mine, and that's the type of attitude that we have. So I want to thank Mac Schwing. Thank you, Mac, for putting that together. So in the next couple of days, I'm going to send you some materials that Deloitte has put together for the college. And it's not, again, top down. It's not, this is how you do it. This is how they do it. And it's going to be two documents. One that's going to be a framework for how to do strategic planning. And secondly, it's a real nice article about the top 10 challenges that institutions of higher ed provide. So I think that's what really my vision is for strategic planning, is I want to create a learning community, as you have in your classroom. I want to create a learning community of 3,000, okay? That it's going to include faculty, students, classified, the external community, the board, and make it something that you all have your thumbprint on. And I think if you all have ownership in it, then I'm confident that we can get to where we need to go. You know, there's a lot of good things about this place. And when we talk about seeds of change, I don't want the faculty who've been here for many, many years to think that and sound like I'm being critical, because I'm not. I'm really proud and of what this place is about. I wouldn't have come here if I didn't think I could take it to another level. And with all of your brain power in this room and all of your energy and all your commitment, I'm confident we can. So I'll just close with a quote by a French poet named Guillaume Apollinaire, and it goes like this. Come to the edge, he said. They said, we are afraid. Come to the edge, he said. They came, he pushed them, and they flew. Thank you.